House with Paul Rosen.
Our diets, our Western diets in America are just really, you just don't realize how poor they really are.
What would you say to others who would like to feel better?
Sometimes you need to find the instruction. That's where the testing and everything comes in, because without that knowledge, there's no way I could have got to the point where I'm at today.
Straight talk about health.
And then I start preaching and telling them what I've been doing. And this guy named Paul Rosen has changed my life.
With your host, Paul Rosen.
By the way, the information contained in this program is not approved by the FDA, nor intended to treat, diagnose, or claim to cure any medical condition or disease as defined by Western medicine. However, skilled practitioners of many disciplines have found nutrition response testing to be a highly reliable supportive technology for assessing the health and fitness of the body's functional system.
All right, let's get right to it, Paul. I understand now there's this direct correlation between our brains and our immune systems, and this has an impact on our ability to function every day, as well as our general health. What's this all about?
There is this link, this direct link between the immune system and the brain via something called the lymphatic system. This is the other circulatory liquid system that is spread out throughout the body.
Is the lymphatic system then a communication system?
Ever hear of a lymph node?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so lymph nodes are collective areas of collection for the lymph system.
And the lymph nodes sometimes go wrong. I've heard of cancer at the lymph nodes,
yeah, it's
for
not
example.
that they go wrong. It's that they're not, they're not cleaned up. They become stagnated. The spleen is the filter of the lymph system. The liver is the filter of the blood system.
So I'm guessing because there is this connective system between the immune system and the brain, is there something that can go wrong there and cause issues with the immune system?
Mm-hmm. Particularly around the vessels surrounding the brain, where neurological conditions develop. Some people think like Alzheimer's, for example. So, the more that is revealed, the less we know.
So I'm guessing from that point that if you have degenerative brain disease, for example, does that also affect your immune system?
Vice versa?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's unfortunate. You mentioned
so
head
you
trauma.
See, the point of all this discussion is for you folks to recognize that you're not a passenger completely in this process. That you really have something to do with the state of not just your health overall, but your immune system. And to think that you're just going to get a vaccination and voila, you're protected, as the Western medical community and the governmental agencies tend to market or promote, is just insane. It's totally wrong. It's totally wrong.
So we're talking about your immune system fighting viruses and things like that.
Correct.
during flu season,
Correct.
for example. And yes, we've been led to believe, another conversation perhaps for another time, that flu vaccinations can help us battle these viruses and other dangers that come about, especially during certain parts of the year. But if we strengthen our immune system, strengthen our health in general, we're much better prepared in any event to battle these kinds of viruses. Is that right?
And if you're going to do something, treat or actively, do something to give you protection with respect to your immune system, there are many things you can do to strengthen that immune system before you would ever incur a risk that, for example, vaccinations pose. Now, I'm not an anti-vaxxer 100%, but I am a person who likes to take a look at the risks and the benefits of a particular protocol or procedure. And we can talk, as you say, we can talk more about this in a flu show, but bottom line is,
I think
anybody who lines up for the flu vaccination and thinks they're going to be protected, against the flu is for the most part, and the statistics show this, is for the most part fooling themselves.
And I think there's a distinction between that and maybe this whole movement about anti-childhood vaccinations. I don't think it's the same thing entirely, is it? You tell me.
Well, I mean, there are other complications with respect to that, and I don't want to go too far afield in that area right now.
So let's focus strictly on the immune system and maybe as it relates to...
But the point is that given the introductory material that I introduced, it's kind of said that twice, right? Introductory material.
That you introduced.
Yeah. Okay, well, it should be recognized, folks, that you understand now that you are the one in charge when it comes to the condition of the most important area of your body that impacts your immune system, and that's your gut.
And maybe that's very important to know, because when I'm hearing all this information you're giving about all the ways your body can go haywire, it seems a little bit hopeless, but it's not, because you can take control.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Where have you heard that before?
I don't know. Maybe you saw it on television or something.
No, right here.
Or maybe it was on the bag in which I bought my Doritos tacos. They had an ad on there.
Yeah, right. So if it's true, and it is, that your gut is the center of the health of your immune system, and the center of your health of your emotional balance, what can we do? What can we do to see that area of your body is taken care of?
I think it's really easy for most of us to guess what we should not do. And that, again, includes the liter of soda pop, every morning or however often
this
you're
is why
drinking that.
This is why you've heard me say many times that the notion that you can eat things in moderation, eat everything in moderation, it won't hurt you.
Notice how I betrayed my 7 fruits, by the way, by saying soda pop.
Yes, I noticed.
Who says that?
Also, perhaps some Midwestern connections.
No, I don't know. I think that phrase goes back to like the bicycles with one big wheel and 2 little smaller wheels behind it.
Right.
Kind of like that. Top hats and buggy whips.
Right. The tricycle.
That's a soda pop reference right there. But in terms of things we should not eat, it's always obvious.
Yeah, it's always obvious. But the obvious sometimes escapes us because it's so obvious. We just don't see it.
What about certain food sensitivities, and just using that definition for the purposes of this point, which is if it makes your gut hurt, maybe you shouldn't be eating it, right?
Well, but it doesn't always make your gut hurt. It's not always obvious in that respect. And people ignore it anyway. I mean, ask anybody who's addicted to sugar whether they feel good, after they eat it. And they'll tell you if they do feel good at all, it's very short-lived.
That's interesting. They don't get the sugar high. So it is like really, a drug addiction, a more serious drug addiction. I've heard addicts, and I've read, memoirs by addicts and whatnot, and maybe this will compare to a sugar addiction.
It is.
They say they get a brief rush, but then they feel lousy, and then, of course, they're just craving the next fix.
That's exactly how it works. That's the neurological impact, right? But what's not well known is the immunological impact, the impact on your immune system. You're just thinking, oh well, this little high, little low, so what? Who robs a bank if they're addicted to sugar, as opposed to being addicted to, something stronger like cocaine or heroin, but maybe except a child who robs their piggy bank to go get some, candy. But the bottom line is my point here is that I say throw out this notion of eating everything in moderation and it being okay, because it isn't true. It was never true, and it will never be true. You have to avoid eating sugar. End of story. You have to figure out how to do it. And if you can't, we'll help you. But you have to figure out how to do that. Because there's no such thing as supplementing your way to good health. You cannot, end of story, just plain supplement your way to good health. You have to change your eating habits. And for most people, that is a challenge.
That brings up a point, too, with bad food, like fast foods, for example. Are they not only harming us by bringing in all the bad stuff, the chemicals and preservatives and all that, but maybe by failing to add anything healthy to our bodies by bringing in necessary nutrients?
Well, it's just nutrient deficient because of the way it's processed, because of the way it's handled, because of the way it's cooked. it depletes a lot of the nutritional content.
So depleting the content in addition to maybe having actively harmful ingredients in it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's
all of the flavor enhancers and the food colorings and the preservatives and the list. Oh my gosh, the list just goes on and on.
So those things are doing our bodies damage in general. They're hurting our guts and in turn hurting our immune system.
And of course, the way the food is actually, raised is a big problem for us. Where, commercial foods are raised with hormones and fed, genetically modified foods or foods that contain lots of residues of pesticides, herbicides. It's the whole system right from the get-go. And that's why organic is important.
Organic food, of course, is available everywhere, so it has those benefits to it, I would think, having actively healthy ingredients in it as well as not having the bad ones.
And anybody who tells you or who believes that there isn't a difference in value, certainly to our bodies, between organic foods and commercial foods has never helped another individual restore their health.
So to have a healthy immune system and having it not attacking our bodies, which we've discussed throughout the course of this program, what do we need to be doing? We need to be avoiding sugar. What else can we do in the way of our diets to make a good, strong, solid immune system?
I know this is going to be shocking to you.
Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to be stunned.
Eat fresh food.
Eat fresh food. Boy, what a what a
I just try to
idea.
keep it simple rather than making it complicated, because it isn't complicated. With a few directions, a few instructions, a few recommendations, you can go out there and begin the process of restoring that imbalanced and depleted gut, right? And one of the ways you can do that is to eat fresh food.
How do you know if your gut or your immune system has reached the point of no return, or is there such a thing? I mean, is there a point at which there's not much you can do?
Well, you develop a disease, and that disease ultimately consumes, some organ or gland, or, it's, off to the hither and yon.
So I think for most of us, though, we're far from that point yet. I would think that there are always steps we can take to improve.
And as I say to the people who come and utilize my services, this is not about life or death. It's not about that. It's about quality of life. I mean, if I told you that you could live an incredibly active life, stay healthy, enjoy, your days, your activities, etc. Enjoy good food, friends, family, but you're going to die at 75. Versus you're going to live a much longer life into your 90s, but be on a half a dozen or more prescription medications and or be in a wheelchair or dragging a dancing partner. That's an affectionate term that people use in the hospital for people who are on IV. They have to carry a little pole with wheels on it.
How about a third option? How about we live well into our 90s in a happy, healthy state, or as much as we could make it, and avoid the hospital dancing partner and the whole thing? I think that's possible too, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's totally possible, but you can't do it if you eat crap. You can't do it if you consume, tons of sugar. Now, somebody out there will say, but my grandmother, she lived to 97. She smoked, she drank alcohol, she violated every recommendation that me or my ilk would, make. But that's a few and far between. And those genes don't much exist anymore.
I wonder, too, though, if as we get older, our diets change. I mean, I know, despite the joking I've done, I don't have the appetite for fast food that I used to, and I certainly haven't liked sugar in a long time. And I think as we get older, we tend to eat less. So
we
maybe
do eat less.
Those things will work more in our favor. I think the obvious danger there is if we're eating less, you may be looking for that quick fix, which may be some sugar-filled thing. And instead of, a healthy meal, somebody who's just interested in a quick bite and calling it dinner may reach for a piece of apple pie.
Yeah, you can't put this on autopilot and expect to get the results that I talk about and my patients talk about. You cannot put this on autopilot. You have to be in control. So you have to make the decisions. You have to take the actions in various situations, like your family, dinners and events, and your social dinners and events, and your business dinners and events. You have to do something to ensure that what you're putting in your mouth is supportive. And one of those foods is fermented foods. It is the degradation of their microbiome that is a major part of this problem. So the question is, how do you restore the microbiome?
Sauerkraut.
Thank you. Not pasteurized
somebody
sauerkraut.
Just walked by the studio with a plate of sauerkraut. That's a fermented food also, though, isn't it, though?
It is one of the main
good.
fermented foods.
That's good.
But you want to buy...
What a coincidence.
You want to buy sauerkraut that you need to refrigerate.
One more note, you can get a free chapter of Paul Rosen's book, The Missing Piece. Just go to his website, acunatural.com, acunatural.com, and fill out the dialog box that pops up. Rest assured, no information you provide will ever be shared with anyone else. So, what are you waiting for? Get going on your personal road to wellness today.